Hey everyone, welcome to Mind Unboxed, the channel where we unpack the most extraordinary, heartbreaking, and sometimes terrifying stories hidden inside the human brain and body. Today we're talking about one of the most frightening medical conditions imaginable: locked-in syndrome, a state in which a person is fully conscious, perfectly intelligent, and emotionally alive, yet almost completely paralyzed and unable to communicate with the outside world. Imagine waking up one morning and realizing you can't move a single muscle. Your arms, legs, face, mouth, everything is frozen. You can't speak, can't swallow easily, can't even turn your head. You're trapped inside your own body like a prisoner, while your mind remains completely clear and alert. You understand every word spoken around you. You feel emotions deeply. You remember everything. But no one knows you're still in there unless they notice the one thing you can often still control: your eyes. That is the reality of locked-in syndrome. The term was coined in 1966 by neurologists Fred Plum and Jerome Posner in their book, The Diagnosis of Stupor and Coma. They described three categories: classic locked-in, total immobility except vertical eye movements and blinking; incomplete, some small voluntary movements remain; and total locked-in, no movement at all, including eyes, the most tragic form. Most cases are caused by a specific type of brainstem stroke that damages the ventral pons, the part of the brainstem that carries motor signals from the brain to the spinal cord and body. The pons acts like a major highway for movement commands. When it's destroyed, those signals can't get through. Crucially, the upper brain, the cerebral cortex responsible for consciousness, thought, memory, and sensation, is usually spared. That's why awareness remains intact. Other causes include traumatic brain injury, tumors, overdose of certain medications, advanced ALS, though ALS progresses differently, or diseases like multiple sclerosis that attack the brainstem. Patients with classic locked-in syndrome are often initially misdiagnosed as being in a coma or vegetative state. Doctors and families may talk over them, assuming they can't hear or understand. Some patients later describe the horror of hearing loved ones discuss turning off life support while being completely powerless to protest. Communication, when possible, relies on eye movements. A common system is to ask yes, no questions, one blink or look up for yes, two blinks or look down for no. More advanced setups use letterboards where the patient looks at letters or groups of letters to slowly spell out words and sentences. Modern technology has brought eye-tracking computers, brain-computer interfaces, and even implants that allow some patients to write emails, browse the internet, or control wheelchairs with their thoughts. One of the most famous survivors is Jean-Dominique Bauby, the former editor-in-chief of French Elle magazine. In December 1995, at age 43, he suffered a massive brainstem stroke and woke up in locked-in syndrome. After months of therapy, he learned to communicate by blinking his left eye, the only part he could move. A patient assistant would slowly recite the French alphabet in order of most common letters: E, S, A, R, I, N, T. Bauby would blink when the correct letter was reached. Using this exhausting method, taking about 2 minutes per word, he dictated an entire memoir, The Diving Bell and the Butterfly. The book is a masterpiece of introspection and beauty. He describes his body as a heavy diving bell trapping him at the bottom of the sea, while his mind is a butterfly free to roam memories, imagination, and emotion. The book became an international bestseller and was adapted into an award-winning film. Tragically, Bauby died just days after its publication in 1997. Another remarkable survivor is Nick Chisholm from New Zealand, who became locked in at age 38 after a rugby injury caused a stroke. He spent years communicating only with eye blinks before gaining access to eye-tracking technology. Today he runs a blog, gives speeches via computer voice, and advocates for others with disabilities. Kate Allett from the UK suffered a brainstem stroke at 39, leaving her completely locked in for months. Doctors told her family she was vegetative. Yet she heard everything. She fought to move her thumb, then her eyes, and eventually recovered partial movement and speech. She now runs a charity helping stroke survivors and has written books about her experience. Life with locked-in syndrome is incredibly challenging. Patients are fully dependent on caregivers for feeding, usually via tube, hygiene, positioning to prevent bed sores, and respiratory support if breathing muscles are affected. Depression and frustration are common, yet many patients report surprisingly high quality of life once communication is restored. Studies show that when asked, the majority of locked-in patients do not wish for euthanasia. They find meaning in relationships, intellectual pursuits, and small joys. Advances in brain-computer interfaces are bringing hope. Companies like Neuralink and others are developing implants that detect neural signals directly, allowing some paralyzed patients to type at speeds approaching normal conversation. In 2024, the first patients began using these systems to control computers purely with thought. Locked-in syndrome forces us to confront deep questions. What makes a life worth living? How much of our humanity is tied to movement and speech? And how would we endure if our mind remained vibrant while our body became a silent cage? It also highlights the incredible resilience of the human spirit. People who have lived through this describe richer inner lives, deeper gratitude for small things, and unbreakable bonds with those who learn to listen with their eyes. Locked-in syndrome is rare, estimated at a few cases per million people, but its existence reminds us how fragile our connection to the world truly is. One tiny lesion in the brainstem, and the bridge between mind and body collapses. Yet, stories of survival remind us that consciousness, love, creativity, and meaning can persist even in the deepest silence. That's locked-in syndrome, the condition that traps the mind in an unmoving body, and in doing so reveals the extraordinary power of human awareness. If this story moved you, made you grateful for your ability to move and speak, or simply left you in awe of the survivors, let me know in the comments. What would be the first thing you'd want to say if you could only communicate with your eyes? If you want more profound stories from the frontiers of medicine and the mind, smash that like button, subscribe to Mind Unboxed, and hit the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching. And take a moment today to appreciate the miracle of moving your fingers, smiling, or saying "I love you" out loud. See you in the next one.